If a man is married and still pursuing you, the first thing you need to understand is this: it's not about you being irresistible. It's about him being unavailable in all the ways that actually matter. When someone has made a lifelong commitment and still seeks something on the side, it's not a compliment to your beauty or your energy. It's a red flag wrapped in charm. This man isn't looking for love. He's looking for a moment, something temporary that helps him feel something he's lost or never had. Maybe it's attention, maybe it's control, maybe it's just an ego boost, but make no mistake, if he was truly ready for something real, he wouldn't be trying to build it on broken vows. And the worst mistake you can make is turning his pursuit into proof of your worth. You're not someone's escape route from their own reality. You are someone's destination, not their detour. So if he's married and interested, ask yourself, is this a compliment or is it a warning in disguise? Because if he's willing to betray someone he once promised everything to, what makes you think you'll be any different when the novelty wears off? When a married man seeks out another woman, one of the primary things he's often chasing is validation, something he might no longer be receiving at home, or more importantly, something he's never learned to give himself. It's easy to look at his interest and interpret it as a reflection of how captivating, how desirable, or how special you are. But what's really happening underneath is that this man is trying to fill a gap inside himself that has very little to do with you and everything to do with his own emotional needs. Validation in this context isn't about a genuine connection. It's about soothing an insecurity, proving to himself that he's still attractive, still wanted, still significant, especially if he's been in a long-term relationship where the attention, excitement, or admiration has dulled. He may start to crave the feeling of being someone new again, and that feeling is often rooted in how someone else responds to him. Many people assume that the breakdown in a marriage is purely about emotional disconnection between spouses, but often it's deeper. It's about identity. Over time, people can begin to lose sight of who they are outside of their roles: husband, provider, father. When a man no longer feels seen in his own home, whether that's because of changing dynamics, routine, conflict, or just the natural evolution of life, he may start to search for that recognition elsewhere. And when someone new enters the picture, especially someone who sees him as fresh, charming, or impressive, it can be intoxicating. That attention hits differently because it's not filtered through years of familiarity. It feels like proof that he still matters, that he can still make someone's heart race, that he's still capable of being wanted. The danger is, this pursuit of validation often masquerades as romantic interest. He might say things that sound profound, emotionally deep, even vulnerable. He may open up about the problems in his marriage, how he feels misunderstood, neglected, or unappreciated. These confessions can easily draw you in, making you feel like you're the one who finally sees him, the one who truly understands. But it's important to see the full picture. When validation is the driver, the attention he gives isn't about building something with you. It's about rebuilding how he sees himself, and that's a fragile foundation. This kind of attention isn't sustainable because it's rooted in his need, not your value. He's not seeking you because of who you are. He's seeking you because of how you make him feel about himself. In that moment, you become a mirror that reflects the image he wants to see. He might be married to someone who no longer holds up that mirror, and now he's looking for someone new who will. But if the mirror stops showing him what he wants to see, his attention shifts again. This is why what feels like a deep emotional connection can quickly unravel once the novelty wears off or once real expectations enter the picture. When a married man pursues someone outside of his relationship, more often than not, he's chasing an escape rather than a genuine connection. He may present himself as emotionally available, open, and even vulnerable about the state of his marriage. He might share stories about how unhappy he is, how distant things have become at home, how misunderstood he feels by his partner. But what he's actually seeking is not a deep emotional bond. It's a way out of his current reality, a distraction from the life he either feels trapped in or bored by. This kind of pursuit isn't about love, it's about relief. It's about stepping outside of the weight of responsibility and stepping into something that feels lighter, freer, and more exciting. Escapes are intoxicating because they offer temporary freedom. A married man who feels overwhelmed, emotionally unfulfilled, or just bored with the routine of his life might start to see another woman as his personal exit door, not necessarily to leave his marriage, but to mentally and emotionally disconnect from it. The allure isn't always about passion or sex. It's often about the feeling of being unburdened. When someone sees him without the baggage of his daily life, without the history of arguments, disappointment, or unmet expectations, he feels momentarily liberated. In that space, he can be whoever he wants. Funny, charming, emotionally present, romantic, even if that's not who he's consistently been in his own relationship. This escape fantasy allows him to compartmentalize. He doesn't have to deal with the hard conversations, the unresolved issues, the responsibilities that come with long-term partnership. Instead, he gets to indulge in something that feels effortless. When he spends time with the other woman, whether that's through conversations, flirtation, or more, he gets a taste of a different version of himself. It's not about building a future, it's about pausing the present, and the longer he stays in this fantasy space, the more disconnected he becomes from the reality of his own life. For the woman involved, this dynamic can be incredibly confusing. He might say things that sound meaningful, he might express feelings that seem genuine, he might even suggest that he's falling for her, but it's crucial to understand the context. He's not connecting because of deep compatibility or a shared vision of the future. He's connecting because she offers a mental vacation. The relationship, if it even becomes one, isn't built on shared goals or mutual respect. It's built on escape. And because escapes are by nature temporary, they lack the foundation needed for long-term stability. The danger is that he may start relying on this escape to avoid facing the real issues in his life, and instead of confronting what's broken or missing in his marriage, he uses this new dynamic to delay the inevitable. He might say he's working things out, or that he needs time, but his actions often reveal that he's not moving toward resolution, he's circling around it. The connection he forms outside his marriage may feel emotionally intense, but it exists in a vacuum. It's not tested by real life, by shared responsibilities, or by the kind of everyday pressures that reveal the true nature of a relationship. When a married man seeks another woman, often what he's truly after is the thrill, the excitement of something new, the adrenaline rush of secrecy, the intoxicating high that comes with being desired outside the bounds of commitment. It's not about forming a meaningful bond or starting a new chapter of his life. It's about recreating the feeling he once had when everything in his relationship was still unknown, when the stakes were low and the butterflies were high. Over time, even the best relationships can lose their spark if not intentionally nurtured. For someone who avoids confrontation, introspection, or personal growth, it's easier to chase novelty than to repair or reignite what already exists. And so he finds someone new, not because she is better, but because she is different. Not because he's ready for something deeper, but because he's addicted to the surface-level hit that excitement brings. This thrill doesn't require honesty, transparency, or effort toward building something real. It requires just enough charm to create intrigue and just enough distance to avoid consequences. He gets to step outside the reality of his everyday life and play a different role, one where he isn't just a husband, a provider, or a father, but a man who is wanted, pursued, and mysterious again. The woman he pursues becomes a character in this fantasy, not a partner in a future. And the more she responds to him, the more that thrill intensifies. It's not about her, it's about the feeling she gives him access to. It's about what she represents, not who she is. In many cases, this pattern reveals a man who hasn't learned how to face discomfort. Instead of digging into what's broken or missing in his marriage, instead of asking himself how he's contributed to that dynamic or how he can grow through it, he opts for escape through excitement. And because newness always feels more intense, more romantic, more effortless in the beginning, he can convince himself, and maybe even the woman involved, that what they're experiencing is rare, meaningful, or special. But the truth is, it's only special because it hasn't been tested. It hasn't gone through the natural friction of real life, of shared responsibility, of emotional vulnerability that stretches over time. When someone chases thrill over depth, they're not committing to a person, they're committing to a feeling, and feelings, especially the ones driven by novelty and secrecy, are fleeting. They burn bright and fast, but rarely leave anything behind that lasts. The woman who's caught in this pursuit may start to believe that the attention means something deeper, that the passion signals something real. But if he's only showing up when it's convenient, when it's exciting, or when he's bored, then what he's truly seeking isn't partnership, it's distraction. He wants to feel young again, free again, powerful again, and that has less to do with her and more to do with the version of himself he's trying to relive through her. When a married man begins to pursue someone outside his relationship, what he's often doing isn't creating a bond, it's testing boundaries. He's not stepping into something with the intention of committing or even fully engaging. He's probing, seeing how far he can go without facing consequences. This behavior usually starts subtly. A compliment here, a casual message there, a harmless flirtation wrapped in jokes or lingering eye contact. And if those actions are met without resistance, he pushes just a little further. This kind of behavior isn't accidental, it's calculated. He may not always be consciously aware of it, but at some level, he's measuring the space between what he's doing and what he can get away with. The other woman becomes part of that test. He watches how she responds, how she justifies his behavior, how far she's willing to allow things to go under the assumption that he's being sincere or emotionally available. When someone is testing boundaries, they're not being vulnerable or honest. They're playing a game with no clear rules, one where they hold the power and the other person is left trying to interpret what's real and what's not. This man might say all the right things. He might talk about how unhappy he is, how misunderstood he feels at home, how he never intended to fall for someone else. But these stories often serve one purpose: to lower resistance, to soften defenses, and to make the other person feel like they're stepping into something meaningful rather than something manipulative. And once those emotional walls are down, he continues to push, not necessarily toward a future, but toward gratification, toward ego strokes, toward a sense of control that he may not have in other areas of his life. The other woman in this dynamic often finds herself in emotional confusion. Because the man isn't asking for anything explicitly, she may question her own instincts. She might wonder if she's reading into things, or if he's really as emotionally involved as he seems. But that's part of the test. By staying vague, by keeping his words just ambiguous enough, he avoids accountability while still reaping the benefits of attention and affection. And if things ever reach a point where he's confronted, or things begin to feel too real, he can easily retreat behind the defense of not having made any promises. That grey area is where boundary testers thrive. They keep everything blurry, and in doing so, they keep the control. This behavior reflects more about his character than it does about the person he's pursuing. Someone who genuinely wants to form a connection doesn't begin by breaking trust or playing games. They don't build intimacy on a foundation of secrets and deception. When a married man pushes boundaries without ever taking responsibility, what he's really doing is revealing his inability to form authentic, accountable relationships. He's not building a bridge to something deeper. He's throwing out emotional bait to see who bites, who stays, and who allows themselves to be pulled into a space that was never safe to begin with. When a married man shows interest in someone outside his relationship, what he's really doing, whether he admits it or not, is revealing far more about his own character than he is about the woman he's pursuing. It's easy to get caught up in the flattering attention, the emotional openness, the seemingly deep connection. He might come across as thoughtful, emotionally intelligent, even gentle with his words and intentions. But underneath all of that is a man making a decision that tells you everything you need to know about how he handles loyalty, integrity, and self-control. No matter how charming he is, no matter how convincing his story might be about a loveless marriage or an emotionally unavailable partner, the moment he crosses a line, he's already making a clear statement about how he approaches commitment and honesty. He may say his marriage is over, that they're just roommates now, or that he's staying for the sake of the children. But what he does in the meantime, who he involves, how he involves them, and how he justifies those actions, is where his true values come to light. People often get distracted by the narrative he presents. He might paint himself as the victim of a cold, distant spouse. He might claim he's stuck, that he's not ready to leave, but emotionally, he's already gone. These explanations can feel genuine, and maybe in some cases they do reflect part of his reality, but explanations don't excuse behavior. Every choice he makes outside of his marriage, especially when it involves deceiving someone or creating emotional dependency without clarity, is a reflection of his personal ethics. You don't get to assess a man's character based on his words alone. You assess it based on what he does when no one is watching, when things are complicated, when taking the high road costs him something. And if what he chooses is secrecy, avoidance, and betrayal, then no matter how good he is at justifying his behavior, he's telling you who he is when things get difficult. The woman who finds herself in this dynamic often ends up doubting her own intuition. She might feel like she's the exception, like this man has found something rare in her that he can't walk away from. But the truth is, if he was the kind of man who faced problems head on, who respected the people in his life enough to be honest and responsible, he wouldn't be building something new before resolving what already exists. The way a man treats his partner when no one else is looking is a direct window into how he might treat you if roles were reversed. And if he's capable of leading a double life, if he's capable of lying to the person he once promised everything to, then he's also capable of turning that same behavior towards you the moment life with you stops being easy or exciting. His actions aren't just about his marriage. They're about his patterns, his impulses, his ability to handle discomfort with maturity.